Hello, everybody. Welcome to this part of the You Are Prepared All Stars event. My name is Milan Jacob, and I come from IRS Group. We are one of the OET All Stars providers and the only one from Asia. So it's good to have all of you here for this session, and thank you for having me. Today, I'm going to talk about how OET can help you avoid culture shock. So, as we get into it, I've got a question for you. Have you ever worked in a multicultural environment? This could be a very interesting question, and I'm sure most of you would have worked in multicultural environments. Excellent. Now, to make sure that you are prepared, I've got a poll question for you. So now the poll option is open, and you can vote. Are you prepared to work with people of different nationalities, races, and ethnicities? So press your option whether you feel you're prepared for that or not. This would be very interesting. And once the poll ends, I'd be looking at the results. So I've got some more thoughts for you to ponder over this. Are you prepared to accept, learn about, and coexist with people of varied traditions and belief systems? So OET would prepare you to work in perhaps a setting which you're not used to, and when you start working in those settings, there might be a different cultural exposure which might seem different to you. Now, something even more interesting is about food. Are you prepared to, for a possible culinary shock? Now, this may look strange, but that definitely does happen when people from one culture work in another. So, have you ever thought that your food culture might offend others and theirs be unacceptable to you? Now, hundreds of my own candidates who work in other countries like the UK or Australia oftentimes tell about how this food shock could be pretty embarrassing. I'll give you a typical example. Let's take a hospital in the UK, and a nurse from India, from Kerala, which is my own state, might be cooking his or her favorite food, which could be fish curry with tapioca or cassava, as some people say. And now this is a pretty spicy food. And as they take the heated food to their table, across the room, that spicy, aroma could waft in the air, and it might offend some people. Like, oh, this is a very strong aroma, which not everyone would accept, and it could happen the other way around as well. So that's also part of this, although we may not think it to be very important. So the role of OET is that the clinical communication criteria of OET, the speaking subtest, will indeed prepare you to avoid some culture shock. This is something which you should be really thoughtful about, and which would help you to prepare for OET with greater zest. So I've got a few aspects and a few tips based on those aspects from the clinical communication criteria for you to take home. This is not an exhaustive list by any means. Firstly, let's think about how to be non-judgmental. So have you ever been judgmental? Have you ever tried to be non-judgmental, or knowingly or unknowingly have you made comments which could be judgmental? Now again, I've got a real life story. A new nurse from one country, could be my own country, or any other country for that matter, goes to another country, possibly an English speaking country, goes to a female patient's room and finds a slightly younger guy there, and asks this question, "Is this your son?" To which she says, "No, he's my partner." Now, for people from certain parts of the world, like some Asian countries or I don't know. They could be prejudged about what relationships should look like. And when you find some changes in that, you may not be really comfortable to accept that. But that is actually something that could have been avoided had that judgmental question or a statement for that matter was avoided. So avoid asking or making such statements, and avoid assumptions based on your culture or value system. So a better option would have been, good to see that you have someone to care for you, for which the patient would have perhaps said, thank you, this is my partner Joe. So remember not to assume, jump to conclusions. Great. And use verbal and non-verbal language in a positive way, not in a judgmental way. And of course, you would be aware that non-verbal cues could play a very important role in communication. Could be the look, your facial expressions, the tone of your voice, and all those things. So be aware of it and make sure that the kind of language you use is positive, both verbal and non-verbal. Excellent. And thirdly, in this category, make sure you avoid the good, bad, trap. So instead of judgmental statements, switch to factual statements. Say something that is fact-based instead of making judgmental statements. So at the end of the session, there will be a free guide for you to download, which has some useful examples for you to prepare over this. Avoid language or words which carry judgmental opinion or attitude. So judgmental words such as right, wrong, fair, unfair, should, shouldn't, all those things should be avoided. So if you look at this young guy, what comes to your mind? Do you think he could be lazy? Or do you ever ask him, are you lazy? That again is a judgmental question, which could be perhaps replaced by, do you have a lot of time on your hands? Or something of that sort. Right. Now, let's look at another area, which is how you can avoid unconscious patterns of judgmental thoughts, how that could impact your communication. So be aware of those unconscious bias or patterns of judging people, which could be fossilized. When you overcome that, you will be better communicators, both in OET and in the real world. Great. Another area where you can improve is being respectful. So firstly, when you have to show respect, firstly, you should be motivated to help your patient, be driven. And secondly, you need to make sure that the patterns I mentioned earlier don't come in the way. So that's how you can develop respect. So here is a thought which is not respectful. The health professional says, I hate seeing drunkards. And that could be replaced by something like, he's in a bad way, he needs help, which means you are driven to help this person. You have the motivation, the drive to help him out, and you want to show it as well. Very good. So finally, I want to talk about empathy. How do you show real empathy? Now, from my own experience in teaching OET, I find a lot of candidates use hollow language, phrases, which doesn't really convey empathy. So how can you be really empathic? How does real empathy look like? So when you want to show empathy, you should firstly understand the predicament, the situation, the condition your patient is in. Show sensitivity towards it and tell them or reflect that sensitive understanding back to them. So that's how you can be empathic. For instance, instead of using a phrase like, don't worry, I can understand your concern, Use something such as, I can imagine how much it hurts after the fall. So what you see here is that you're acknowledging the pain, in this case the physical pain. Sometimes it could be a mental distress or whatsoever. You acknowledge it, you acknowledge or try to understand the cause, what triggered it. In this case, it's the fall. And you connect both. And then you express or show or reflect that understanding back to the patient. Right. So I hope you have got some idea on how the clinical communication criteria can help you overcome culture shock. Now, you already would have a lot of other stories to share, or you will experience more of such encounters. I'd be really happy to listen to you, and my colleagues at OET would be happy to listen to such stories as well. So do not forget to share them with us. So remember, everything you do as part of OET preparation is something that's going to be with you beyond the test. This is something that lasts a lifetime. So when you prepare for the speaking subtest, when you go through the clinical communication criteria, remember that these skills are going to help you at work. It's going to make you a better communicator. As part of the OET All Stars campaign, at IRS Group, I've done extensive lessons on the clinical communication criteria. You can watch them online. They're available on OET's Facebook page. And you can also follow IRS Group's Facebook handle at facebook.com/IRS Group India. And the same handle is therefore Instagram as well. So do follow us on Facebook or Instagram at IRS Group India. And we'll be updating you about our new training programs, and you'll also be getting free preparation resources from time to time. And finally, here is a takeaway gift for you. You can now download the You Are Prepared mini guide from IRS Group. And this has most of the content which I shared with you, and also some more tips and examples on how the clinical communication criteria will help you to improve your speaking and overcome the culture shock. So thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.